right. So let's see, we have our topic today, share your vision of a culture of empathy. We're continuing to explore that topic that we've done for the last several meetings. We have one more meeting next week on the same topic, and then we'll be going into the XR conflict topic for the next following 2 weeks. So how that'll be the 31st, is how XR can address conflict more effectively. So everybody knows how to do empathic listening, so we're ready to begin. Again, our topic is share your vision of a culture of empathy, which is basically, what is it if we place empathy as a primary social, personal, and social value? What is our vision for doing that, and what does the world look like, and what are the underlying values of a culture of empathy, and just whatever else comes up for you. So we could try without any time limits. Do you want to try that and see how that works? I think we already have it sort of embodied. So, okay. So whoever would like to start, even you could do a little check-in too, if you wanted.
Yeah.
Tomorrow is the...
Who are you speaking to?
Oh, yes. Sophia, would you please listen to me?
Yes.
Tomorrow is the 4th annual Women's March in the United States. And from New York to LA, there'll be marches with people saying we want to change our country. And it is a privilege to be able to bring the empathy tent to our march in Ventura. And so I'm delighted to be able to do that.
So you are participating on a women's march. I don't know how to pronounce that, between New York and LA. And you're gonna have an empathy tent with you to get people, listen to.
And in our local newspaper, there was an article about the march, and online people are posting interesting comments. Things like they'll be showing up with their firearms and they hope that Ruth Bader Ginsburg dies. And so I'm trying to welcome all these folks to the empathy tent as they stop by. And I don't know what's going to happen, and I want to be peaceful and empathic and kind, and so it'll be an interesting day.
Yeah, so they're posting about this march in the newspaper. Is that what you said, or online? Yeah, and there has been some violent comments there about showing up with a shotgun, and you seem to really embrace that and see that as a way of, okay, so how can I bring empathy to those people?
So I'm looking forward to listening to anyone who wants to stop by the tent and be a kind, compassionate, empathic presence and be an important part of the day.
Yeah, so you're looking forward to showing up as a kind and empathic person, and was there something else? Yeah, no.
Thank you. I feel fully heard. Thank you.
Thank you. Bill.
Listening.
First of all, on a personal level, I'm kind of stressed out because the my insurance company want to put me on disability, and I have sort of accepted that and embraced that. But now I found out that there are several people who is gonna judge. What do you say?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So now I'm just feeling really stressed about what is gonna happen with my future, and yeah.
So you're feeling kind of stressed right now because because of your disability, or your insurance company wants to put you on disability, and so you had accepted that, but then when you sort of found out more details, it seems that you're going to have several people who are looking over your shoulder, deciding, so that you don't know whether that's a, acceptable state of affairs or not. So you're worried.
Yeah, and the climate that we have here in Sweden is that more and more people are being labeled as healthy. You are healthy now, even if they are sick. So to sort of like put them on the job market, which is totally insane. So I've been really upset about what's going on here in Sweden. We don't take care of the sick, the ill people. We just throw them out on the job market.
So you're really concerned about the political winds in Sweden, where they're looking at what we call in this austerity, or essentially trying to cut their budget. So they then reclassify sick people as healthy and put them on the job market, regardless of really what their state of affairs is.
Yes. Yeah, and I could go on and rant about that, about what kind of politicians we have now here in Sweden. It's more leaning to the right, and they are not so good to people who are disabled, and that really concerns me, because we're not taking care of the most
vulnerable
humans here. Yeah, I'm feeling concerned about that.
Yeah, so you could go on in great detail for a long time about the political situation in Sweden, which has taken a more right-wing or conservative term, and really, but beyond that, it devalues the rights of people who are ill, the weakest in our society, and so that philosophically also worries you as well. Besides that.
Yeah. And I just want to quickly say that about the thing that Bob is doing. I've been watching a lot of YouTube clips about incels, especially those in America who are committing crimes and killing women because they don't get sex. So they are very angry about that. And just listening to him expressing that he's going out on a march, I'm wondering if it's the incels that are making these threats. And that's also very concerning to me about these men, these angry men. And
there was a word that I didn't quite, incels?
Involuntary celibate.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Thank you. Got it. Okay. Incels. Well, you must be reading my mail. Sorry. Anyway, I went off thing. Okay. So you've been concerned about these people, these men who are really angry, And if you're an angry man, chances are you're not having a lot of sex, or in the it's just the way of the world. And or even if you have physically sex, it's not sex. It's a power. It's a power thing, which is not sex, and certainly not intimate connection. And so they are very confused. They can't access their need. Actually, this is a little bit interpreting you, but for their need for intimate connection. So they're angry. And then they express that anger. And you're concerned about Bob, and you're concerned about these people who are involuntarily celibate, and then take out their frustrations and project their frustrations on others. And especially women. Especially women.
You could say, I don't know if I would say that they are angry and therefore they don't get sex. But
Okay.
these are very bitter men who sees attractiveness. Their level of attractiveness is not as high, so they don't get the attractive woman, and they're pissed off about that.
Okay. So then I kind of reached a little too far as to why they didn't get sex, and you were saying that they're not as attractive to attractive women, and so then that's the reason for their anger.
Yeah, and I'm wondering if empathy could solve this problem. I don't know. Yeah.
And so you're wondering about empathy, solving this problem, breaking down the, I says, giving those men more self-insight, maybe.
Yeah.
But that's me reaching, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah, but that's correct.
Okay.
Thank you. I feel heard.
Okay. Thanks, Sophia. All right. Let's see. Edwin?
Yep, listening.
Okay. Well, I'm feeling, let's say, well, as far as a check-in is concerned, I'm feeling pretty good. I'm kind of feeling guilty because my personal situation is pretty good, but I really see a lot of pain around me. And while I don't believe in it as suffering as a good permanent state of affairs, it certainly worries me to see others suffering.
Mm-hmm. So you're feeling a bit guilty because you're seeing a lot of other people suffering, and you feel like your situation is pretty good.
Yeah, and it's guilty. It's not like I always have a sort of a boundary for that, because I've had plenty of my life where things were very, very difficult for me. So I know that side. And so, but nevertheless, I know that side, and I would like to help others feeling the same way.
Mm-hmm. So you've had your own share of suffering, so you know what that feels like. So when you see other people suffering, you'd like to be able to contribute, help them out. But then you also have some boundaries. I think I was hearing.
Yeah, no, I do, because well, in my job, you could easily be overwhelmed by the drama that was happening around you, and so you had to, take care of. You had to take steps to kind of give yourself some boundaries and some time away from that.
So you're just relating to your work, where in your work you had to have your boundaries and you had to have your space to kind of away from the stresses of the work, and sounds like for recuperating.
Mm-hmm. And I'm excited. My vision of a culture of empathy is a joyful one, and I'm pro-joy for everyone. And what that means is that, listening in to the individual for, for their values and needs, what they feel would make them grow, and then also the society itself. When the individual feels taken care of in that way, then I think the individual naturally seeks to benefit the society.
So your vision of a culture of empathy is a very joyful culture, and you feel that if an individual can be heard and seen, that they can sort of grow into that. So
right, that
can
they
be more aware of the society and can maybe contribute. And
right. So so I'm anti-original sin. So there's no, I mean, I that I say that, and that was not a great career move, by the way, for me to say in the principals meeting, which I never became a principal. That original sin is what's wrong with our education system. I'll stop there. I'm in the middle of something. I don't know.
So let's see if I get this. That you're not someone who says there is an original sin. That we're all guilty and we've all sinned. So you don't sort of buy into that original sin notion. And sounds like having that view hasn't helped you, like in the education field, which sounds like it has. You feel that they have that view.
It didn't help. It didn't help me advance in the hierarchy, but it did help me stay in touch with my own true authenticity. And so I have no misgivings about that. And there was one other. It's like, it's not that everybody's guilty. It's that we're all sort of like children. Yes, we make mistakes and things like that. And there are times when we need to be responsible for our own behavior and make adjustments. There's no question about that. But it's part of a joyous growth, not a craven, broken entity that is constantly flailed by impossible, goals of perfection, which are not even perfection.
So your vision is not that we're have this sin and should have all this guilt and so forth, but it's a joyful, growing sort of view of life that it's kind of growing and into sort of joy.
Because my students, maybe at some point I can show you the picture. My students, they were punished from the beginning, from almost the day they were born. And they didn't need to hear about, about how bad they were, how guilty they were, about what they had to do to earn, acceptance. They needed to know that just by being there, they were acceptance. I don't know if I didn't go full Mr. Rogers, but I like, when I was a kid, I hated Mr. Rogers. It was boring. But as I've grown older, I really like his message. I'll stop there.
So you're seeing that, with your students, it's like you weren't seeing them as kind of being sinners and guilty and original sin,
right?
And because they'd already gotten enough of that, so you had a different view of maybe more seeing their humanity and
their inner greatness.
Seeing.
Thanks. I feel fully heard.
Okay. Great. Carolina, can I?
Yes, I'm listening.
Okay, so what I want to go back to was sort of what was brought up by, Bob taking the tent out to the Women's March, and then the people kind of being critical of that. So kind of this political polarization is what I'm kind of wanting to look at, the left-right political polarization, and how a culture of empathy is people advocating for empathy. How do we navigate that polarization?
So you referring to what Bob brought to our meeting about his participation in a women's march and organizing Empathy 10 in a headquarter of the march, and particularly thinking about deep political polarization between right and left, and how to address this polarization with culture of empathy.
Yeah, it's like, what is, kind of what is my position within that dynamic of that polarization, and what is the empathic, the I don't know, mindset, viewpoint, right? There's this left-right polarization. Both sides think that they're right and the other side is wrong in general. And it seems to me that the empathy approach is not so much into the individual strategies and policies that each side wants, but it's how the dialogue, how the relationship happens, right? It's like that's what the culture of empathy is it's the relating with empathy. People have different views. They have their individual views, their group views, or whatever, their political views, but it's how people relate to each other is the core, it seems to me, of the culture of empathy. It's sort of the container for that.
So,
yeah.
So you're trying to find your place, you kind of how you see yourself in such a situation of political polarization. And you are noticing that it's not, in short, it's not about what, but about how.
Mm-hmm.
And it's more about relations between both sides, not about particular view, but rather about relation between people and between different opposite views, and it's more relational and more like a tool than like a fabric of relation. It's rather like how to build the relations.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's the empathic is being willing to dialogue with each other. And it's like saying, okay, what's most important in how we're relating is how we relate to each other. It's that we will listen to each other fully, kind of what we're doing here. We're really modeling it here in this group, is where we value this dialogue with each other. And whatever views you have, different divergent views on how healthcare should be, or how women's issues should be, or men's issues should be, we're willing to have, this empathic dialogue with each other to work through these issues, and willing to take as much time as necessary to work through them.
I'm not sure if I'm not losing part of what you're saying, but if I understand you correctly, it's about specific type of relation that is dialogue.
Mm-hmm.
Dialogue is relational, and whatever people want to say, it's one thing, but from empathic perspective, from culture of empathy angle, it's about dialoguing.
Mm-hmm. The willingness to dialogue.
The willingness to dialogue. Okay.
So with this issue, with the men's issue and the women's march, there's a sort of a lack of dialogue, willingness to dialogue on both sides. And, I've seen it with, I did an interview, Empathy Circle, with a guy named James Damore. He wrote this paper about, women in tech, and he got fired from Google. But he was willing to do this Empathy Circle, with me, and he was willing to talk with women to have this Empathy Circle with them. And no women would talk to him. At least I couldn't find any, especially on the feminist side. So
Okay.
there, I guess what I'm trying to say is different, the women are also not talking. The Women's March, a lot of the women in the Women's March are also not taking this empathic, approach. So, yeah.
So you're noticing that there is lack of willingness to to keep the dialogue between both sides,
Mhm.
and it's not only the attitude on the right wing or men or masculinized background. It's also on the feminist side. Uh, so you recall the situation with the guy from Google company who wrote the paper, the email about women in high tech or IT,
Yep.
and he lost his job, and you organized dialogue with him, but no, you didn't find any woman willing to talk to him. He was willing to talk, but no woman, at least on feminist side, wanted to speak to him.
Yeah. So that's it. It's like having, I see myself and kind of the empathy movement is we're willing to dialogue with all sides and bring the sides to dialogue with each other. That's kind of like the core essence of the empathy movement.
So you see that one of the facets of culture of empathy and the empathy movement is to bring everybody to the dialogue, open dialogue to every person, no matter what kind of view this person represents.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I'm trying to articulate, get better at articulating that 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 mindset. So
And this
yeah.
is the main focus of your kind of publicizing, popularizing the empathy circle to make it clear that it's highly inclusive.
Uh-huh. And how do I articulate it, right? How do I say this in a way that people can understand it? People are so wrapped up in their battle that they don't even see that they can sort of step out of the battle and have this space for, dialogue, and really value that empathic dialogue.
So it's not just the issue of publicizing the idea of high inclusiveness, it's also about how to do that,
Mm-hmm.
to how to get to both sides and make them hearing
Yeah.
this
And to express
opportunity.
it. I'm trying to find out how to express it well, so it's understandable. So that's what I'm trying to get better at, expressing that.
And you're looking for the best expression of this idea of high inclusiveness,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and just being able to,
and opening the space to dialogue
yeah, and just
for
being able to,
everyone.
just being able to express it here kind of helps my thinking process. So I
And
appreciate the space.
you talking about it, and it helps you to think aloud and kind of develop the idea of how to do that.
Mm-hmm. Very much so. Thank you very much. I feel fully heard.
Thank you. Bill, would you reflect me back? Oh, I mean Bob, I'm sorry, because Bob didn't speak yet, didn't reflect it, but oh, I'm sorry. I mean Bob, sorry,
Carolina, I'm listening.
sorry. I realized that Bob didn't reflect it yet.
By the way, I just have to say this was the okay sign, not the white power sign.
It's okay in diving, so for me, I'm quite familiar with this symbol. Okay. As my check-in, somehow I feel today very calm and maybe a little bit tired, but mostly calm. It's kind of surprising to me because last few days were quite hectic and making me nervous. A lot was happening. And suddenly today I feel so calm. Maybe because this day was quite peaceful.
So you're feeling calm today and maybe a little tired, and you're surprised at this because it's been a busy week, a hectic week, and you're very pleased that it's a calm day today.
Yeah, maybe because I am after few quite difficult and important things for me. One of them was buying empathy tent. I finally decided which tent I will buy, and I already bought it. I already pay it. I got invoice. I pay it. I'm waiting for our empathy tent here in Poland. So I am thrilled, but kind of feel released. Oof, it's done.
So you have purchased the empathy tent, you have the invoice, it's being delivered to you, and there's a sense of relief. Whoosh.
Yes. And obviously, I will have to make printings on it. There is a lot of work to do. I need to buy some chairs, maybe a little table, tourist table, I don't know, camp table. So there is a lot of things, but it's already the most difficult thing, which was choosing the tent and feeling that this choice is okay, was the most difficult thing for last many weeks. I felt kind of enormous responsibility for it, and I didn't feel comfortable of choosing this or that one, which one will be good, which one is bad one. I was very uncomfortable to make this choice, but finally I have it behind me, so I
Over
feel
the
relieved.
past over the past several weeks, you've been concerned about what tent you should buy, and now that that decision is made, you are still faced with the printing of the signs and the shirts and the camp table, and so there is a new anticipation and a satisfaction of having made the decision.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I'm happy that we have new tent in our family, in our small empathy family. We have new tent.
We're
Uh,
very happy that we have a new tent in the empathy family.
yeah. And maybe one more thing, I was preparing for XR movement, so-called open region call. There is such thing like open region call. There is such body in XR movement called International Support Team. And there is work group, regenerative culture work group in this support team. And I am a member of this work group, and we organize open region call, and I propose to organize every 2 weeks an empathy circle for open region calls. We have first one, but unfortunately I did mistake with dates. So there were few people who wanted to join the meeting and they were confused with dates, with hours. It was my mistake. So nobody appeared. It was just me and Marta from Ireland. We all know her. It was nice of her to be with me because it was kind of disappointment for me that nobody appeared. Then I realized that, gosh, probably people are feeling lost. They don't know what time is it. And it was true. Few people tried to join the meeting. They were just confused with dates. It was my mistake. So in next 2 weeks, there will be another region call, and I hope it will go smoothly next time.
So in the Extinction Rebellion movement, you were leading a empathy circle gathering, and there was a mistake made and people did not know what time and where to go. You and Marta were the only participants and you feel badly about that. and you're looking forward to, in the next few weeks, organizing another one with proper communication and hopefully a successful gathering.
And I feel like I need to tell that because I'm very grateful, thankful to Marta for being there with me. She was very supportive. And today she couldn't join our meeting. And because there was some small accident with her boyfriend, and she's with her boyfriend. And now, but I feel like I am with her, in my thoughts, I am with her. If you, Marta, if you listen to this recording, I'm thinking about you very warmly.
So you're very grateful for your friendship with Marta and her support for you. And you're sad that she's not here with us at this moment because she's caring for her boyfriend who had a bicycle accident. And if Marta's watching, you are having warm feelings in your heart for her.
Yeah, thank you. I feel hurt.
Okay. Bill, would you please listen to me?
Listening.
There is a guy in San Francisco named Matthew Fox. And Matthew Fox is on a campaign to replace original sin with original blessing.
Mm-hmm.
And empathy is a way for people like Matthew Fox to share their joy with folks and to undo all the twisted logic and faith statements that we've put together over the past 3,000 years. And I hope Matthew Fox and empathy can join forces in rewriting the story of who we are.
So there's a guy in San Francisco, Matthew Fox, who would like to replace original sin with original blessing. And you feel that sort of the empathic communication is an expression of original blessing. And so you hope that Matthew Fox can kind of join the empathy discussion.
And I am so convinced that empathy is the correct process for us to come together as a planet. Empathy respects the dignity of each human being. Empathy accepts any offerings to be shared. And there is a worthiness and a respect and a dignity that is a wonderful foundation for better relationships.
Okay. So after your experience, you feel that empathy is a really excellent expression and sort of core to what we need to do to make progress as a species coming together. And there are elements in empathy that are healthy building blocks for any sane society.
And I attended a Pete Buttigieg campaign event this past weekend. And I am more than ever convinced that the issue facing us of utmost importance is the perilously close extinction we are facing as a species. And those who deny it and those who believe it need to be connected empathically so we can figure this thing out.
So you went to a Pete Buttigieg campaign rally, and after hearing, I guess, what they were talking about there, the dire nature that we face, both with climate change and authoritarianism or whatever, political situation, essentially needs to be addressed through empathy.
Thank you. I feel fully heard. Thanks, Bill.
Okay, sure. All right. I see Sinead just got in.
Hi, how are you, Bill?
Good. I'd be fine. Sinead, we're just sort of checking in and doing empathy. We've kind of done one round. Would you like to speak to somebody? And it's my turn, so I have the power to cede that to you.
And we're recording.
Oh, yes, right. We're recording.
Yeah, thanks.
Okay.
I don't mind. I'll probably just land a little. Maybe if you want to go ahead with yours and maybe come in the next time.
Okay, sure. All right. I'll talk to Sophia.
Yes, I'm listening.
Okay. Well, I like original blessing. That's sort of that I'm very close to what I think reality is, and so and I certainly agree with a lot of things that people have said, about culture of empathy, and I think, and to me, it breaks down what I call false choices, or what we call duality, a dualistic view, or a black and white view. I'll stop there.
Yeah, so you like original blessings,
Mm-hmm.
and you enjoy all the ideas that has been shared here
Mm-hmm.
about the culture of empathy, and oh God,
That's okay.
yeah,
So then I went on from that. That's accurate. Thank you.
yeah,
And then I talked about the way we kind of look at things in our society in a dualistic way, in a black or white way.
yeah, yeah. So you believe that um, it kind of puts us off from seeing us as dualistic, and into more of a we are one. That's
Right.
what he does. Yeah.
Yeah. And to clarify, correct. I think divisions. What I find in this practice is that you sort of give your attention to someone else for 5 minutes, and there's a part of anyone's ego that says, wait a minute, we're losing control. I'm not saying it's the most intelligent part, but there's a kind of fearful, like, oh, I'm losing control. And then what happens if you do that? You find out that rather than losing control, you, by listening and giving yourself to someone else, you're enhanced. I'll stop there.
Yeah. So you have this observation that you have seen, that people seem to think that they are losing control when they are listening actively to other people. But what's actually happening is that we are enhancing. I don't know if I understood that correctly.
Sure. Enhancing means that there's sort of a part of my brain, kind of like, let's say, the lizard brain, that fears losing control. But then my cerebral cortex says, no, there's really not a danger here. So quiet down, lizard brain. And then I listen to someone else. And then my experience, both in my lizard brain and my cerebral cortex, is an expansion, because I've let someone else's experience into my experience, and I'm greater than I was before.
Right. So you see the losing of control as a kind of safety mechanism that the brain goes into, and what's actually happening when we're listening is that the brain relaxes. That is how I understand you, and we actually enhance our experience when we're, yeah.
Right. And so in bringing it back to a culture of empathy, and I'll end with this, it's about balance and a sort of dynamic of growth. It's not about taking a snapshot. It's about being in a movie. And I'll stop there.
Okay, so how you perceive that the empathy circles, if I understood you correctly, is that it's dynamic
Hmm.
and sort of like being in a movie. Is that correct?
Well, what I'm saying, originally I'm referring to a wider culture of empathy. I look at the empathy circles as a very useful tool. And so, and I think that we tend to define things by taking snapshots, you know, and I think that really reality, and in a culture of empathy, we're seeing is evolving and growing. So there's no like, you are this. It's sort of like, oh, you're here, and now you can go here or there. Not a rigid definition, but a evolving, growing definition.
Okay, so you're talking about the envisioning the culture of empathy, that it's not a fixed, rigid concept, but it's always evolving. Is that what I'm hearing you say?
Absolutely. Thank you, Sophia. I feel fully heard.
Who did I talk to before? I don't remember. Was it Edwin? Okay, Jeanette, Bob.
I'm listening.
I'm feeling very distracted today. I have to get into this pace. I know that I get into it eventually, but right now I'm feeling distracted.
So today you're feeling distracted. You are hoping to become directly connected to the space that we're in, but yet you feel distracted.
Yeah. And I think some part of it that is that I'm kind of irritated about all these, that all you are happy and I'm not feeling happy at all. I'm actually feeling scared and sort of like, where is the world going, and can empathy solve it all? And so yeah, when I hear you talking about joy, I just feel bleh.
So you're a little irritated. You hear many of us talking about how joyful we are, and you're not feeling joyful, and that's a bleh feeling.
Correct. And I think that what I've been thinking about when listening to all of you, that there has to be some kind of foundational, I don't know if you say that in English, but sense of safety in order for us to even come to the point where we do empathize with others. And what I mean by that is, if I'm not feeling having my necessities, yeah, like food, water, how roof, you know, all the things. I think that the brain is not able to empathize if they're under a threat. And I see that as a lot of people are functioning on this level where they don't feel safe. They don't know where their next bill is gonna come. Yeah, how they're gonna pay their rent. Yeah, and I'll stop there because that was a lot.
So we have basic essential needs of food, water, shelter, safety, and it's difficult to be empathic when anyone is worried about the basic human needs.
Yeah, and I'm really into basic income, but I don't think we can even get there without empathy, because a lot of people are against universal income. But I think that with with that kind of income, all people are safe. They're safe. And when they feel safe, they can advance in their empathy skills, I believe.
So the issue of universal income is an important one to you, because it is only when we feel safe and supported and fully secure that we can grow into being more empathic people.
Yeah, that's my ideas. And I don't know how we would get there, if empathy can actually help with that. How because yeah, I see, even though I can understand why people want money and why they want to get rich, I can empathize with that on some level. But if I'm being poor, I really want them to share. And yeah, it's just conflicting in me right now.
So there's a conflict, there's a lack of comprehension when so many people have so much and so many people have so little, and it's unfathomable to you why we can't get together and share with each other.
Yeah. And I was sitting here thinking that I don't believe that living in a competitional society where money rules and all that capitalistic view, it's hard to see how we can get an empathic culture when we're so governed by money. We're so ruled by money. It's yeah, I don't know. I'm just feeling confused.
So you're confused and a little unsettled by the conflict of values between capitalism, where people strive to get more for themselves, as opposed to empathy, where people are open and sharing.
Yeah, and I'll stop there because yeah, I can keep on talking forever.
We're going to stop there.
Yes.
Sinead, would you please listen to me?
Yep, sure. Yeah, sure.
Okay.
It's Bob, isn't it?
Thank you. I would love to do an empathy circle sometime about hope and where it comes from. And even in the midst of evidence to the contrary, I have hope that at some point it's all going to work out. That movie, The Marigold Hotel in India, if everything is not all right, it's not the end. Because everything will be all right in the end.
So you'd like to maybe do an empathy circle sometime on hope, because you believe that that's something in people. I don't know if you've said that or not, but that everybody has hope in some way. Sorry, could you repeat it again?
Well, there's a virtue of hope, and I wonder if everybody has it, and just some have it in a more developed way than others.
Yeah. So you gave a quote from the Marigold Hotel film, but I can't remember it exactly. I couldn't recall the hope exactly. Sorry, I'm actually really low on resources tonight, so I'm really sorry if I'm not a good listener. It's like Sophia was saying earlier on, but I'm really struggling to hear, and it's not for the one that I want to be able to hear you, and I'm recognizing I'm very low in space, but please let me try again. Yeah, sorry.
All right. In the film The Marigold Hotel, the main character says, in the end, everything will be all right. And if everything is not all right, it's not the end.
Yeah. In the end, everything will be all right. And if it's not all right, it's not the end.
That's right. I feel fully heard. Thank you, Sinead.
Bless you. Thank you. Let me think. I can't see the people, and I don't know who's there, who hasn't.
There's Carolina, me, Sophia, Bob, and Bill.
Okay. Sorry, something's just come up on my thing. Yeah. Edwin, sure you're there. Why
Okay,
not?
I'm listening.
Thanks. Yeah. I think I'm feeling quite emotional. I'm in my, although it was very beautiful to see the background in Bob, I was kind of looking at Bob's, you know, out the Bob's window there. I think I was kind of distracted by the wonderful scene outside me, but also a bit heavy with my own emotions, and just as I said a couple of times, noticing that it's really hard to have the space for other people's needs, emotions, and what's going on for other people when your own needs aren't being met. That's something we'll probably know.
So you're feeling very emotional.
Reflect that back.
Yeah, you're feeling very emotional, and it's hard to really listen to others when you're having a lot of emotion, a lot of stress yourself, and so you're just dealing with a lot now, and it makes it hard to hear others. You're dealing with others' needs when your own needs aren't being met.
Yeah. So I'm in my car. I'm normally helping with the kids' rugby, but I didn't have the energy to do that this evening.
Sinead, maybe you turn
So
off
I
your
thought
video.
I'd check in to the Empathy Cafe instead. Yeah, I think I'm just heavy with the weight.
You want to turn you're kind
What'd
of
you say?
you're
Turn off my
breaking
video.
you're breaking up, so maybe if you
Is that better?
Yeah. So let me just reflect what I was hearing so far is that you're usually helping with your kids' sports, rugby or something, I think it was, or soccer or something, but you were just not feeling the energy for it. That's kind of what I was hearing so far.
Yeah. And yeah, like my battery is low. That's that's why I'm fading out. But I often that is symbolic. But I'm sitting in my dark car. It's dark, yeah. It's the dark days. It's the dark time in Ireland, where I live. So it can feel a little heavy for lots of people. I see that around me. And yeah, I feel affected by that at the moment. I think just the darkness, and I think I on the radio there's all these murders taking place. Like Ireland's quite a small country, and it's just 5 million people altogether in the whole country, and on the radio there was the reports that this 17-year-old boy had been murdered and his dismembered actually, and his parts were placed in different parts of Dublin. He was hung, drawn, and quartered, but basically like he was hung, drawn, and quartered, and my son, I turned on the radio yesterday, and my son overheard a little. He just heard it. It was just a snippet, came on the radio. I didn't know that had happened. I didn't, wasn't expecting to hear it. And it just kind of quickly said about this boy being murdered. And so I was supposed to go dancing tonight. I actually organized this lovely Five Rhythms dance locally. And I was trying to find a babysitter, and my son had never met the babysitter. So I introduced him last night, and when my son went to bed, he said to me, when I turned the lights out and I snuggle him before we go to sleep, and he said, "Mommy, is the babysitter going to kill me?" And I was like, "No, of course not." Like, what are you talking? I kind of, didn't try to make too light of it, but didn't try to take it too seriously either, And I was like, what are you talking about? Of course he's not going to kill you. He's a really nice guy, and da da da. And I know his mom, and blah blah blah. And he was like, but I was like, he said, but he could. How do you know, Mommy? How do you know he's not going to kill me? And I was like, of course he's not going to kill you. I know you're so safe. You're totally safe. And he was, it took, he wanted to know. He said, "Mommy, what if he does try and kill me? Because you don't know he's not going to kill me. You don't know. He wouldn't just take my word for it. He wouldn't believe me." And he said, what would I do? What would I do if he tried to kill me? And he wouldn't, like, I pretty much had to give him, I said, well, listen, I tried to say, look, it's not going to happen. But he kept going. Plus, I wanted to go to sleep. So I said, well, listen, if you didn't feel safe, if you felt threatened, the best thing to do would be to run out of the house and run next door and get some help. Or, if you had to, you could hide in a bush as well. And he kind of accepted that, Sorry, do you want to repeat back? That's lots of information.
Yes. So things feel dark for you. It's kind of the dark time of the year. Your battery is running low, so you have more kind of heaviness. And there was a recent murder in Ireland, so that's another thing that makes you feel heavy and dark. And then just the way the murder happened was, very heavy and dark, and it's affecting your son, who it's created like fear in him about, oh, what if my babysitter wants to kill me, and so that sounds like even more darkness. And then he's looking for some kind of solutions. You gave him some solutions. Well, you can go run and hide, or you can talk, run to a neighbor. So that having some sort of strategies that he could do kind of helped him, kind of be a little bit at ease. But he's just kind of dealing with that fear and darkness.
Yeah, he's just 7. He's 7 years old, and it's hard to witness that. It's hard to, I kind of give him a lot of reasons why that would never happen, even though I don't know for sure that would never happen. So I give him a bit of a Santa Claus on it, but definitely is what I felt he needed to hear as a 7-year-old boy in his bed at that time, that this is never going to happen to him, and that he was totally safe. And but it's a dark world. Building a culture of empathy in a dark place, it's hard for me not to see all this, darkness. And I don't know if you're familiar with it, but we were working on the heading for Extinction Talk last night for Extinction Rebellion, and trying to explain to everybody how dark it is. And every day I'm reading something in the newspaper, whether it's or listening to the radio, whether it's something to do with racist comments or behavior, or a quarter of species are in danger in Ireland, and all this kind of thing. And I know that there is joy and love and empathy out there, but it's it's not the zone I'm in either. So I'm not really, yeah, finding it. And I'm missing out my dance tonight too. Because I couldn't let the babysitter come, and I couldn't think of my son feeling so terrified that the babysitter's going to kill him. I decided, look, oh, fuck it, I'll just stay at home for those couple of hours instead, and we'll all be warm and cozy and safe, and
Yes, it's just things look so dark, and kind of adding to the darkness is the issue of the climate change and all the negative things, species loss, et cetera, et cetera. It's even more darkness. So it's like it's hard to sort of think of a culture of empathy with all this darkness, as maybe there's kind of like no hope, for a more empathic society. So you did try to, kind of cancel your dance so you could spend the time and with your son, and have some connection and coziness with him, and kind of feel safe.
Yeah, I'm not I'm not canceling the dance is happening. I kind of helped to organize it, but I'm just not going.
Yeah.
Other people will dance, so that's good. And just to be clear, it's like Bob was saying, it's not that I have no hope in there. It's just that I don't. It's not primarily what's alive for me right now, but I know it's in there. Otherwise, I wouldn't be here, would I?
Yeah. So there is some hope, but it's like not the primary feeling right now. The primary feeling is sort of this darkness, and there somewhere in your psyche and your consciousness is some kind of hope, and that's even demonstrated by even being here, sort of a sign of hope in terms of even being here.
It is, and at the same time, I want to honor the grief, and what I really would like, and what I need, and what I think would also help to build a culture of empathy is really just, very much honoring that grief, and for it to be okay to feel anything, be it dark or sad or grief, or to just that's where you are, and to have that witnessed is helpful.
Yeah, so a culture of empathy is whatever feelings arise are honored and are okay to be there, be it grief or fear or whatever. All the feelings have a place and are honored.
Yeah, I feel heard. Thanks, Edwin.
Okay, thanks. Carolina?
Okay, I'm listening.
Yeah, I think that's a good point with the culture of empathy, is that whatever feeling arises is fine. You don't have to all be joyous. It's like whatever feelings arise, be it joy or being fear or being grief or being sadness or being lonely, all the feelings have a space, and yeah.
So you're thinking about the empathy circle as a space for every kind of feelings, positive, negative, sad and happy, different sort of thing. Maybe not naming them bad or good, but just different.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's that richness of feeling, and I made some notes here about the dualism and good versus evil. I guess I kind of another, it was, there's so many different areas I'd love to explore. I just feel there's not enough time to explore all the different areas. And one of them is, I did this empathy circle with God and Satan, and thank you, Bob, for being God in that. So just, having empathy circle to address that original sin, the guilt, and setting it up as good versus evil, having an empathy circle. I think that empathy circle sort of, it kind of addresses that good versus evil or original sin, and kind of turns it into a dialogue. And it was a really interesting dialogue too. So that's like one project
So
I'd like to do. I'd like to do more of those, you know, God and Satan empathy circles.
So you're recalling the story of Satan and God empathy circle, empathy circle of God and Satan, and kind of creating role playing with different points of view, and that's what you wanted to achieve. All kinds of feelings, emotions, and different views.
Yeah, and I feel there's so
Is
many
that what you
things I would
mean?
like to, yeah, that's what I meant. And as well as there's so many different circles and topics I'd like to explore. Another one was this feeling of fear. I've done some empathy circles on fear, and just like the whole time is just exploring what are our fears and going into those. And I think that's very helpful too, to create a space to hear the different
So,
fears.
so you're recalling another topic like fear, and in general, you want to create many different topics with full diversity of views on those topics.
Yeah, I feel a little regret that I can't do all of them. There's so many different things I like to do.
So you feel regret that there are so many topics you would like to organize circles that it's not enough time to do that.
And the other thing I wanted to address, I think it was Sophia, she mentioned empathy in a capitalistic culture. And that's where I'm really thinking of the Occupy empathy, where we really go to the leaders of the capitalistic culture, you know, the politicians, the CEOs, and we sort of demand empathy circles with them as a way of sort of taking on the larger culture. So, and I've talked
And
about that before, about doing an Occupy on the Capitol Mall, you know, in front of this Capitol, in DC, and we demand that the politicians do empathy circles with each other.
so you recalling, you referring to what Sophia said about capitalism and capitalistic relations in society that creates a lot of difficulties and make people unable to be empathic. So the thing is to create the society and conditions that make us empathic. And you recalling the movement Occupy, you participated and you would like to create such an empathy a camp occupation action on Capitol Mall
Yeah, that's on the Washington D.C. That's in
in
front of the
Washington.
Congress. Yeah,
Yeah, in front of the Congress and this sort of square in front of the Congress, and to organize their mass empathy cafe occupation sort of
Occupy empathy.
occupy empathy. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like having the leaders actually to do empathy circles is sort of a step. You know, I don't know what would come out of it, but it would sort of model. You know, it would not just be, it would be, you know, addressing the larger system. So it's a dream, like working towards it.
Mhm. So part of this idea and kind of dream project is involving politicians in empathy circle, talking to each other in empathy circle.
And I think maybe that's one of the hopes. The workshop we did with Rosa Monday, the question was, what keeps you going in these difficult times? And it's sort of like saying, where is your hope? So I think kind of having this vision is one thing that kind of gives me hope, you know, like taking empathy to the center of the power structures is something that kind of
So,
gives me hope.
So now you're recalling the workshop with Rosa Zubretta. You were participating on Monday, and you feel like the main focus of the workshop was hope. And if I understand you correctly, it's about putting hope in a center of. No, I'm afraid I didn't understand
I
that.
was just saying that that's where my hope is, that my personal hope is in taking empathy circles into the power centers, the
Oh.
cultural power centers. That's kind of like a hope I have, like, well, if we can do that, that seems hopeful for me.
So you're thinking about hope you feel,
Mm-hmm.
and it's about putting it. It's about bringing empathy into the center of power.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel fully heard. Thanks.
Thank you. So maybe I will choose Sophia. I'm not sure who didn't speak for a while. So maybe Sophia.
Yes, I can listen.
Mm-hmm. I'm trying to connect two things: culture of empathy and the regenerative culture, because we used to use term culture of empathy, but XR movement uses term regenerative culture. And I'm trying to figure out if there is a difference between those two terms, or we can treat them as the same thing. And I feel it is the same.
Yeah, so you're sitting with two concepts. One is the empathy circle concept, and the other is regenerative culture. Was that it? Yeah. And you're trying to find if there are differences between them. But what you see is that they're pretty much similar.
Well, I didn't mean empathy circle. I meant culture of empathy.
Right. Yeah. Sorry.
Mm-hmm. No, it's detail. The only difference is between the focus. So we are focusing on relationality and dialoguing and hearing each other. In regenerative culture, they focus on regenerative aspects. But I believe that listening and being heard is a part of regenerative process. You can't achieve regeneration if you feel stressed, if you feel suppressed. So it's kind of empathy and dialogue is a part of regenerative process. Very important part. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So where you can see a difference is on where both of these what can you call it, directions.
Terms,
Yeah.
notions. Mm-hmm.
Is that on what they focus, and here in the culture of empathy that we're creating, and we're focusing on listening and to making other people feel heard, and on regenerative culture, they're focusing on regeneration. And what you feel is that being heard and being listened to is actually a regeneration.
Well, I would say that it's a part of regeneration process.
Yeah.
Definitely. Other words, regeneration is impossible if you don't feel hurt, don't feel being hurt. It's impossible.
Yeah. So you don't see how regeneration is possible without being heard, basically. And so
Yeah.
it's part of regeneration.
Mhm.
It seems like an important part to you.
Yeah, definitely. And I wanted to connect those two things, make this connection more clear in documents and other actions we undertake in the XR movement. That's my sort of mission in regenerative culture work group, to make it clear that we need this empathy element in regeneration process. That's what I'm focusing on.
So you're focusing on bringing that into that regeneration. What a complicated word. Regenerated.
Okay, we know.
Bringing in empathy and being heard into that. That is seems to be your main focus right now.
Yeah. And last thing I want to say, that I appreciate you bringing to our talk the problem of capitalistic relationships in society and lack of empathy, making it clear that lack of safety creates lack of empathy. That's how I understand what you were saying. I appreciate that, because I feel like without feeling safe, being empathic is heroism. And many people are truly heroistic. I suppose I said that correctly, because they are not safe and they are empathic.
Yeah, so you just want to bring appreciation to what I said about capitalism, and not, if you don't feel safe, it's hard to be empathic. And if you are empathic, what I understood from you saying heroism is that it becomes sort of like false empathy without safety. Is that correct?
No. I mean just that person who is not safe and is empathic is heroes and heroines, being empathic without feeling safety. That's heroism.
So you believe that being empathic and not feeling safe is somewhat a superpower. That what
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I believe that. Thank you.
Thank you. Edwin?
Who did you choose? I didn't hear.
I chose you.
Oh, I wasn't sure. Okay, yeah, listening.
I don't actually agree with that statement that unsafe people who empathize are heroines and heroes.
Mm-hmm. So you're not agreeing with that statement that people who empathize even in difficult situations are heroes or heroines?
Yeah, I believe that that's a coping mechanism that that we learned as small children to empathize, even though we were not growing up in a safe environment. So we empathized with our parents in order for us to feel somewhat safe. So that's the same mechanism, and I don't believe that is good empathy, if you can call it that.
So there's environments like with parents who maybe an unsafe environment, but you're empathizing with the parents in this unsafe environment, and it's not out of heroism. It's maybe just out of maybe the need for safety or something. Kind of helps you navigate those dangerous waters through that sensitivity.
If you empathize with the abuser, you get less abused, basically. But it doesn't solve the problem of them abusing you.
Yeah. So if you're being abused, you're kind of empathizing to kind of be safe. It's not really being heroic. It's just kind of out of safety, and it's not really solving any problems.
Yeah, that's what I believe. And I just feel so negative today. Sorry for bringing it all down, but I also want to make a comment about hope. And I don't think that empathy is necessarily brings hope. I'm agreeing with Sinead, if that how her name is called. I'm agreeing with her that empathy is actually empathizing with the hopelessness, with the dark parts, with the fears, with the sadness. That is empathy. So I just want to, that is how I'm perceiving empathy.
So you're sort of wanting to address the issue of hope, that empathy is feeling into or empathizing with the dark aspects of life too, the fears and hopelessness and darkness. And
and I believe that if we can't hold space for those icky, dark places, the positivity is going to be somewhat shallow, because we're not addressing we're just avoiding the dark parts. I don't believe that you can be truly positive if you don't allow the I don't want to talk in terms of positive and negative, but I will do it here. I believe that all emotions are equal, but I don't believe that we can be truly positive if we don't allow the negative.
So let me see. I have to go. Robbie, you finished. Okay, Sinead, glad you could stop by and share too. Is really.
Bye, Sinead. Bye, Sinead.
So you see feelings as all being equal. There's an equality, the positive, the joy, and the negative, painful, fear, and each of the feelings is kind of has an equality to it, and the empathy is feeling into all the different feelings. I think there's more to it, but I think
Yeah, exactly. And what I see now in the world, I really enjoy. To be honest, what you are doing, Edwin, it kind of brings me hope. The kind of visions that you have, but I'm also seeing that for some of us, we're not gonna make it. We're not gonna have that happy life. Not all humans are going to have a happy life. That's just a part of how the world works. And what I see with that is the only thing we can do is hold space for them. And that's what I think is important right now in our time. I think it's important to hold space for even for the people who won't make it. Yeah.
So you see that we need to hold space for everyone, even the people who are sort of in dark places and are never going to sort of come out of those dark spaces. So you just that's what, yeah. So you want to hold space for everyone and all the different feelings.
Yeah, and not all people are gonna reach out to the other side where we live in an empathic society. That's just reality, and let's just hold space for that and empathize with that. That I think that's the only sane thing to do.
Yeah, and everybody's going to be wanting to create a culture of empathy or be empathic, and so all you can do is empathize with them, with the people who, and that's kind of creates a sense of sanity too, just to have that almost like a reality, and it keeps you sane.
Yeah. I've been talking a lot now, but I just want to mention one thing, that I don't see empathy as being one with other people. I actually see it as a way of becoming an individual with my own thoughts and with my own feelings, and having that be allowed, so I don't have to think like everybody else. That's the beauty of this process.
So what you really value about this process and empathy is that you don't have to sort of merge into the collective or whatever and kind of give up yourself. It's actually, you can bring yourself and you don't have to suppress yourself, and you find that there's a beauty in being able to express wherever you are and whoever you are.
Yeah,
so individuality.
Yeah, so I can sit here with all you being positive and joyful and being negative, and be heard in that. I don't have to force myself into be hopeful and positive just because you are. I'm allowed to have my experience. So that's what I like about this process.
So you like this process, that if everybody's being hopeful and happy, that you don't have to be that way. You can just be who you are, and that you really like that sort of, that's kind of like an authenticity, right? You can be authentic. Whoever you are is fine.
Yeah. Thank you. I feel heard.
Yeah. Speak to Bill.
Okay, listening.
Yeah, I think that's how I see what Sophia is mentioning about that everybody can be authentic. We want to, and I think that's part of a culture of empathy is, be, who you are. And I think that sort of addresses the individuality that you were talking about before too.
So you're saying you're agreeing with what Sophia said about a culture of empathy is be who you are. And that also addresses what I was concerned about, individuality. In other words, the individual is being seen and not judged.
Yeah, and even judgment is empathized with, right? With the empathy circle, you can be judgmental, right? And then whoever you're speaking to is just going to empathize with your judgment. So you can even be judgmental if you want.
Right. So you can be anything, even judgmental.
Yes, I really appreciate the insight of Sophia, and just seeing all the values is sort of having sort of an equal validity. They're all experiences, and seeing all experiences sort of as experiences, and that they all have a validity to them.
Okay, so you appreciate Sophia's contribution in that. What it means to you is that all experiences have an equal or validity to them.
Yeah, and there is the thing though, is when we share those experiences, is like my mother had this saying, like joy is shared or joy is doubled, and sorrows shared or
Mhm.
sorrows halved, right? So
Mhm.
even when we feel depressed, if we share it, there is a feeling of the connection that happens, which sort of ameliorates the painful feelings.
Mhm.
And for example, like my mother was a refugee, right? That she was in the eastern part of Germany. You know, they
Mhm.
lost all their they were kicked out. They were,
Mhm.
you know, the women were raped, and you know, just really horrible
Mhm.
stuff. And but they had sort of the family. They had that family connection with each other. So even you're kind of in this dark space, but you still have that sense of connection. So that brings something to the that even in a dark space, it kind of helps to have that connection. And I think that's what the culture of empathy says is, you know, we have that connection with wherever, with whatever we, you know, or whatever emotions we're in.
So you're emphasizing that a culture of empathy always maintains the connection between people, and that that can have, even whether you're feeling good or bad, um, has positive effects.
Yeah, it creates a, you know, being heard about what's going on, being able to authentically share.
Mhm.
I can feel a sense of connection when somebody has heard that. So and there's something about that that is positive in and of itself. You know, because then we can sort of kind of with that sense of connection, kind of move forward.
Okay. So you're seeing that this sense of connection is really core to a culture of empathy and maintaining that, and that it, whether people are feeling bad or good or whatever, if that sense of connection is there, then people are better able to deal with their challenges and move forward.
Yeah. So yeah, I appreciate all those what everybody's bringing. All the
Hmm.
it's like I think that's another benefit, another
Hmm.
aspect is kind of my world. I can't think of all these things by myself and hear all these things, but by having others share them, it's kind of like my awareness is broader and larger and richer too. So that's another thing I really
Hmm.
am enjoying.
So this is a subject of great interest, a culture of empathy of great interest to you, and then you're finding that in brainstorming and hearing what other people have to say, it helps clarify and enhance and enrich your own ideas.
Yeah, and broaden. Yeah,
Ron.
broaden them too.
Hmm.
So yeah, I feel heard, fully heard.
Okay. All right. Bob?
I am listening.
Okay. So I was mainly the guy was the joy guy. So I have to say that certainly when in thinking about it, and with Sophia and Sinead and others, you know, I certainly don't mean the culture of empathy, or at least in my view, would enforce people to put on a false joyous face. So I'll say that.
In your vision of the empathy culture,
Mhm.
you're not forcing anyone to wear a false joyous face.
Right. I mean that wouldn't be my vision. And I'm a prime example of of someone who doesn't really necessarily go along with the dominant paradigm all the time.
And you are not always following along the dominant paradigm.
Right. But what I am saying about joy in a culture of empathy, like in Sophia's example, where she's concerned about, you know, where her next, you know, bill, if she can pay her bill, and, you know, whether that's her or friends or other things, and also dealing with, you know, physical challenges and stuff. The culture of empathy would listen to individuals like Sophia and then take them at their word and try to make them more joyous. For instance, supporting them financially. Sophia mentioned basic income, things like that. I'm not, you know, would support them to be joyous in their own definition, you know, and it's not perfect. And you know, there are a lot of questions about imposing things, but would look for the and to try to enhance the uh, joy or move towards joy, I guess. Sorry, that was a lot.
The concept of universal income
Mhm.
has a place in the culture of empathy because it honors each individual and their needs and the ability of the community to meet those needs.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that the concept of a universal income does that. But for instance, in Sophia's example, more financial support from the, would, make her feel more secure. And that's what I heard. And so in that case, yes, it would, but not that just more money solves everything.
It's not the issue of money solving all the problems. It's the issue of human beings relating to each other, finding the means to provide a support system for all of our members of our community.
Yeah. And what really came up to me, and I'm sorry that Sinead had to go, was because I was on a call with some XR members, and I believe it was Sinead. This guy was chained to a fence in Parliament, and he was separated from his other XR people by police, and things were getting out of control. And I believe, as far as I thought, it was either Martha or Sinead, and I would see both as skilled in doing that. But then Sinead, I believe, stepped up and calmed the crowd, and he was very grateful for that.
You are telling us about a situation at the Irish Parliament where a man was chained to the fence, and Sinead and Martha were there and stepped forward to empathize with this man and identify and have solidarity with him so that he felt safe.
Yeah, actually, they were calming the crowd down. The XR people were getting, and he was, so they weren't. But that's, and I really feel for the dark days, and certainly people should be entitled to feel whatever they want. But what I hear in that story is that despite that, and this goes along with Carolina says, she said hero or heroism, heroin being a hero or a heroine, not heroinism. But I call that getting in touch with your greatness. That was a getting in touch with your greatness. And when I hear about that, that encourages me to get in touch with my greatness.
So when you hear people talk about being empathic in non-supportive situations and being heroic in that situation, that's an evidence of people living their greatness, and that inspires you to live your greatness.
Thank you. I feel very heard. And if Martha or Sinead hears this, thank you for that.
Okay. Carolina, would you please listen to me?
Yes, I'm listening.
Okay. Nietzsche wrote a book, Beyond Good and Evil. And I have a sneaking suspicion that empathy is a comprehensive, unitive cultural phenomenon that honors good, evil, light, darkness, sadness, joy, depression, elation, and that it all fits and it all contributes to a wholeness that is beyond the normal.
So you're referring to the books of Nietzsche, German philosopher, which title was Good and Evil?
Beyond Good and Evil.
Beyond the good and evil, beyond the good and evil. And you, I'm sorry, I feel a little bit distracted. Let me recapture it. And you believe that truly empathic culture or place is the place that includes all the oppositions, all the oppositions, good and evil, and all the other things that are opposite. I'm sorry.
Yes, and empathy honors and welcomes all participation, and there is a dignity in that and a respect that tells me empathy is so important.
Empathy welcomes everything, no matter what it is. I'm not sure if I'm getting what you mean.
The culture of empathy honors all contributions. It lends them dignity and respect.
Okay, culture of empathy welcomes every point of view, every values, and respects every values, no matter what it is. The important element is respect and kind of inclusiveness of every value, no matter what it is.
Yes, thank you. I feel fully heard.
Thank you. I think, Edwin, do you control time?
Oh, yeah, we have 12 minutes, so
Yeah.
might be a good place to close. I mean, this part. Maybe go around and just check in.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to start with that? Just kind of any. So a closing check in, check out.
I can start.
Okay.
I don't know if I enjoyed not having a time limit. I noticed getting stressed about, oh no, how long am I gone? I was thinking about how long it would go on for me to be so focused on what's being said. That stressed me out. That's the kind of brain that I have. I felt really safe today. I noticed feeling somewhat unsafe, sharing, being so bitter and negative. But I always enjoy that everything is welcomed here and everything is heard. So yeah, I actually feel better now than when I started the circle.
I am encouraged and strengthened and supported as we head off to our march tomorrow, and being empathic with whoever comes into the tent and whatever that those people say. And I am grateful for today and looking forward to next Friday.
I guess I'll go. I really enjoy. It's like everyone here has been doing, these empathy circles for a while, and so there's not like a new person to kind of bring up to speed. So it's kind of like an old, connection. It's old, it just feels really comfortable, having this group that's, sort of regular doing this empathic listening. So I'm just appreciating that. I don't know, what is it? The sort of the regularity of it, the commitment, the depth of it.
I'm thinking about all those sad experiences Shinat and Sophia brought to today's meeting, and I appreciate the opportunity and the space for their feelings. I think this is great that there is space for it, and that empathy circle is kind of cultural tool that make comfortable feeling sad, feeling bad, feeling depressed, having those emotions, because we live in a culture when everybody has to feel great and successful and constantly beautiful and never suffering, which is not true. And we learn this culture expect us to to pretend that we are okay even when we are not okay. So I appreciate the space for saying, I'm sorry, I'm not, no, not sorry. I am not okay. And I don't apologize for that. That's important element, that there is a space for it. So it's kind of, if I feel this way, I appreciate that I can say that as well. And yeah, I appreciate that. And thank you for sharing your feelings.
Yeah, I appreciate all of the diversity, and it made me kind of think about what I say when I mean joy, and what other people hear when I say joy. That it could, they could be oppressive. So I appreciate everybody's contribution, um, and and I don't apologize for daring to encourage others to get their greatness, and then also for me to connect with my greatness.